Yeah, I can hear you real good, man. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Sorry about that.
It's all good, bro. It's all good, man. But this is you don't understand. Like this is I've been wanting to do this interview for someone like you for a very long time. I mean, I don't know if you still interact with this person on YouTube or whatever, but you were kind of like the FD Signifier before he came onto the scene, and I don't really think people give you the credit that I think you deserve. You kind of like we're talking about topics that were kind of like taboo, you know, and you sort of put your own sort of spin on it and stuff like that. I really like that, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate that. I've definitely been at it for a long time, and seen uh, seen kind of new people, I guess, take up the mantle. I guess if you
Yeah,
want to say it like that.
yeah, for sure. I want to sort of talk about your recent video. You know, your Rosane video is blowing up right now. Like that's like almost 300K. Um, was that something you always wanted to do, or was that something that was sort of like in the moment type of thing?
Just that particular video.
Yeah, that particular video. Yeah,
Um, I guess that one was kind of more in the moment. But like some of my videos, I guess I do plan them out like far in advance. But that one, I was just
yeah,
watching Roseanne and
yeah,
just had that thought, and then the
yeah,
video just came together after that.
yeah. So my first like discovery of your content was actually a little while back. I think it was like 2019, I think. And I discovered your video about Sam Harris, right? And this is a time where like it felt like YouTube was sort of like having a bit of a culture war. You have the Jordan Petersons, the Ben Shapiro's of the world. They're fighting against guys like you and later on FD and sort of BreadTube in general, right? And I really thought your video was very interesting because you give a take on a certain type of guy like Sam in a way that like it comes from a guy that used to like his work and now you look at him differently. Like, did you expect that video to like blow up the way it did? Because this almost has like 2.7 million, which is crazy.
I definitely didn't expect it to blow up. Yeah, I think that was one of my first videos that really blew up.
Yeah.
So I just thought it would be just a regular video, just like anything else. But I guess it really caught on. Um, yeah, I definitely didn't expect it.
So like you like you said you've been at this YouTube thing for a while. Your first video was funny enough was like 17, 18 years ago. Like when you think about back during that time, you were just making videos. It weren't really sort of a plan. What would you tell yourself then about the sort of success and the sort of pressures of making a content for a bigger audience, right?
What would I tell myself? Um, I probably would just say focus on the content and focus on getting better at the content
Yeah,
because I think I spent a lot of time um, focused on and worrying about other things.
yeah,
Um, but really, the only thing that has really, at least consistently, caused me to grow and caused me to like learn new things is just trying to make better videos.
yeah,
And I think, I was focused on a lot of other things like making money and getting followers and
yeah,
stuff. But all that comes as long as the videos are good.
yeah. So, like, so how do you sort of process, like, the amount of sort of internet notoriety you have now? It seems like, you know, you have over 350K subscribers. Your videos are now averaging 150K plus, right? When you're releasing it more frequently. I mean, how do you process that? Like, do you sometimes like take it for granted or no?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to take it for granted. I try not to, but you got to catch yourself because I have a decent following, but there's still people that are way bigger than I am, and
Yeah,
sometimes you compare yourself to others and think you're still just a small guy. But yeah, I try not to take it for granted. It's a big deal, and I've come a long way,
yeah,
and I try to keep that in mind.
yeah. So Now, like, what? Because I know your first video again. It was such a long time ago, but like, what was the inspiration, or what was the trigger for you to consistently be making videos about things that people are not wanting to talk about or willing to talk about in the detail that you sort of set out?
I don't know. I've just always been. It's a combination of me always being a creative person and being an opinionated person.
Yeah.
And even before YouTube, I was always making stuff. Like I used to draw a lot, and I used to make websites for fun and stuff like that. So YouTube was just kind of another opportunity to do that. And if you ask any of my friends, I've always been a very opinionated person, and it was just an opportunity for me to get my opinions out. And just over time, I guess some people picked up on it and liked it. Yeah.
So when did you realize that this is something that could like sustain you for as a career, for the long run?
It was just when some of my videos started to really pick up. I had a video, maybe like 2012 was the first time. I can't remember the exact one, but it like, I guess, quote unquote, went viral. I think it maybe got like 100,000 views, but at the time that was way more than anything I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
And so that's where it started. And then I had like a really good month a couple of years later where I think I had made more in that month than I had made at any job I had. It just kind of told me, oh, this is actually possible.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very, very interesting. When I see your videos, I don't get the vibe that it's like it's totally scripted, or I don't get the vibe that you're going off the top of your head, right? So how do you how long how long does it take to make your videos and write out what you want to say? Or is it point form, or is it just sometimes you just go off the top of your head?
Most of my videos are pretty much fully scripted.
Okay.
So I usually spend, a few days, sometimes up to a week, just on the script.
Yeah.
And when I'm like recording, sometimes I'll improvise certain things. But yeah, I work mostly with the script.
Okay. It's interesting because I think it was a year ago that I don't know why I haven't checked out your channel in a while, and I see a video talking about I think you posted a video about you're kind of shifting your content to talk about more about movies, TVs, entertainment, rather than just strictly politics and culture and race and stuff like that. What sparked that shift? I know you explained why, but what sort of sparked it to make that shift in the first place?
I guess it's kind of a complex answer, but for one, it just politics and stuff like that it's not that fun, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just got to a point where I was just kind of stressed out making videos.
Yeah.
Just everything was just really stressful, and so
Yeah.
I didn't want to, have this thing where it just wasn't fun to do.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I just don't really like the way that politics is discussed on the internet.
Yeah.
And I guess I could be the change that I wanted to see, but it's like, even when I make a video, I try to look at the comments. I try to see what conversations people are having, and I just didn't see a lot of stuff that I thought was productive.
Yeah.
People are, and for good reason, sometimes people are just angry and emotional, but, at some point we have to be able to talk about these things in a reasonable and civil way. And there's just so little of that on the internet.
I feel because here's the thing, right? I've been on the internet for most of my life, and the one thing I find that is so interesting, it's when you're at a sort of certain type of class, right? You're higher middle class, you're rich. You're not gonna care who's in power. You're not gonna care. You could support whoever, but you're not gonna. At the back of your head, your life is not in danger. But the people at the very bottom, they're fighting every day, and they know no matter who's the leader or whatever, their situation's not gonna change. So that's why, again, that's where the anger, the apathy, and the sort of overreactionaries on one side get to try to exploit desperate people trying to, again, get by the day to day with just, again, with scraps, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think a lot of the emotions are understandable and valid, but then there's the question of how do we talk about it? How do we actually solve the problem?
Yeah.
I don't know if you solve the problem by yelling at each other.
yeah, I feel like, again, I feel like far too many people they think they're the main character. They think this is the MCU or the Mission Impossible movie. Like, it's not as simple as that. You know, we live in a world where it's gray everywhere. That, you know, the person that you might not like, do you not like them because they have a stance you don't agree with, or you don't like them because they are wearing a different color of a hat? Is that as simple as that? Right? I honestly think people are 3 to 4 dimensional in terms of the way that they think and the way of, you know, they think about certain issues. Sure, there might be some people that are just, you know, you're not going to have any productive conversation about anything. But I think there needs to be more willingness to, again, like, understand the other side's perspective. You may not agree with it, but you have to understand where they're coming from in that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's hard to do, and a lot of people are unreceptive to that. But whenever I see people actually like making breakthroughs in conversation or like getting people to understand their point of view, it's always through being kind and civil and compassionate.
Yeah.
It's never through being hateful and you know, yelling at each other.
Yeah, I mean, do you think, like, you know, the poisoning of the discourse, do you think that, you know, do you think it was always going to become like this? Because, again, more and more people are getting on the internet, and not all of them are going to have the full understanding of one's perspective and how a conversation can change from topic to topic.
I definitely didn't have to be this way. I think there's a lot of factors to it. Like, social media is a big problem.
Yeah.
Like, social media literally rewards the most extreme and negative viewpoints. So I think that has just been spreading and, you know, disseminating throughout the culture for years. And now everyone's just angry all the time.
Yeah. You know,
and also, I think,
I don't want to interrupt you, but it's so funny because did you listen to that new Clip single, So Be It?
no, I don't think so.
All right, so it's causing a lot of stir online because I think Pusha T sent some shots at Travis Scott for like interrupting a session with Meltdown. He didn't again, it's a whole mess, right? And the way that people were talking about it, I'm like, bro, it's like I understand, like, you know, people, like, obviously, you know, like, they need a void that needs to be filled, but like, I wasn't seeing any productive conversation about the music. It was all about the gossip, which is just like what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's unfortunately this kind of attitude. It's not just politics. It like infects like every other category.
Yeah, for sure. So, throughout your years as a YouTuber, has there been a video that you scrapped for whatever reason?
I've scrapped a lot of videos. I mean, sometimes I just start on a video and I just like, this isn't very good. Or I've had videos, especially when I was doing more politics stuff, I'll have a video that's kind of based on an idea, and then I'll like do a little more research and realize, oh, that's actually not accurate.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to end up scrapping it. So yeah, I imagine like most creators have probably scrapped a lot of ideas, and sometimes you get like 80% through the video and you just realize it's not very good, and you just have to start over.
Damn. Can you give me like an example of more recent example of that?
A recent example. Well, I have I have lately I've been doing more videos about TV shows, obviously,
Yeah.
and there's an idea that I've been working on, but I don't know if it's good.
Okay.
I want to. I was gonna do a video about the show Family Matters.
Yes.
And but I wanted to talk about the beginning of Family Matters before Steve Urkel was on the show.
Yeah.
And just analyze the show from that perspective.
Yeah.
And I still might do the video, but I was like working on the video and I just realized it wasn't that interesting.
Yeah.
Because the show's Steve Urkel made that show, and it's just not as interesting before he gets there.
Yeah.
So I wrote like a whole script, and I was like, this really isn't that interesting. So I don't know. Maybe I'll still make the video if I can come up with a interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there obviously for me, like, are you on Reddit at all, or?
Yeah, I'm on Reddit.
Okay, so there's been certain posts that I thought of doing, and I just when I was writing it out, it's just like this is just not gonna work. Like, sure, this might get me like notoriety, and it might get me, but like it's like for me, it didn't satisfy me because like I wasn't saying anything new. I was just regurgitating like my own perspective onto other people, and I don't know if they're gonna like mess with it. But the other thing is like about sort of social media in general is like it's turned into like again whatever. I feel like anybody can say anything, and there'll be at least one person that says, you know what, I agree with this person. It could be the most insane take ever, the most uninformed, most racist, most horrific take. And say, you know what, I agree with this person because such and such, right? So I mean, it is kind of a game, bro.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I pretty much agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. So obviously, you see certain YouTubers, retiring recently. You have Game Theory. You have a bunch of other people, retiring. And a lot of them are citing burnout and, stress, as you stated earlier. How do you avoid that? Because I feel like it's kind of a topic that's sort of like, it varies from YouTuber to YouTuber.
I think avoiding burnout is a matter of, for one, just making sure that you're actually making stuff that you like enjoy making, and that you care about making. I think a lot of YouTubers, they find something that works, and then they feel like they just have to make that same thing over and over again, and that can become boring, or it can become more of a chore. And I've definitely felt that, where I just feel like I'm making the thing that I'm supposed to make, and I realize it's not that fun, or not motivated. So I think that's a big part of it.
Would you do like a video on would you do a video on a movie anytime soon?
Yeah, I mean it's not. I'm not opposed to it. I think that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mostly do TV shows, and I feel like movies is like a different category, and the people who love movies like really, really love movies. And I think it might be a different audience, but I think if I, pick the right movie and talk about it a certain way, it could definitely work.
I don't know if you watched it. I think a perfect movie to talk about now, because the sequel to this movie is gonna come out. I think early October is Tron Legacy. I don't know if you watched it. I think there's a lot of very interesting sort of conversations for that movie. It's not like a deep movie, but there are certain subtext and certain it's because it was released in 2010, right? And it was a whole different world back then. It would be interesting to see someone like you kind of sort of compare and contrast the way that you do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I'm actually am completely unfamiliar with the Tron universe, so I didn't see that movie, but I've heard a lot of talk about it, so it might be interesting to do.
Yeah. Would you do a like a Stranger Things type video? Not just about any character, but just as a whole, your opinion on it, if you watched it at all.
again, it's a possibility. I've seen like the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things. I haven't finished it.
Yeah.
So I would have to catch up. But yeah, I think anything, if I can come up with a unique angle, I usually don't do just straight up like reviews, just like this is what I think about something. But
Yeah.
if I think there's an interesting character arc or
Yeah.
an interesting theme that I could cover, then yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, for sure. So like again, BreadTube, you're kind of like the godfather of that. How you sort of like, as new people were sort of coming onto the scene last couple of years, I mentioned FD Signifier, but there's guys like Noah Sampson, Olivia Sun, and a bunch of others that I don't know off the top of my head. Like, have any of them come to you directly for like advice or inspiration or maybe a collaboration? I know you and FD are like kind of cool with each other right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, FD definitely hit me up. In fact, I collaborated with him just before he started blowing up.
Yeah.
So he was already sort of grinding and like asking. He didn't necessarily ask me for advice, but we did like collaborate and discuss some things. Outside of that, not really. There's I've had like little short back and forth and like YouTube comments and like on social media here and there with certain people, but I would say like FD is the only one of this current batch that really reached out to me specifically.
Okay. So how's it like working with someone like him, and like now he's just blown up to a degree that I don't even think I expected or even you expected at the time. Has he has he changed or has he stayed the same? How's that working relationship like?
I mean, I wouldn't say he's changed. I mean, we're not like super close. We don't talk every day, so I don't really know what, how he's living. But, it's clear that his lifestyle has improved. I've seen him like he's been taking trips and stuff.
Yeah.
He's been collaborating with like big channels and stuff. So, he's moved up a little bit, for sure, in some ways, and I doubt it's like changed his personality or anything. But and in fact, it seems like he's become like more thoughtful about his stuff, and I've seen him, do interviews and collaborations with people I wouldn't expect. It just seems like he's just interested and curious, which I think is cool.
Yeah, for sure. So would there be a possibility of you appearing on his channel appearing on your channel in the near future?
Of his channel doing what?
Like you do like a collaborative video.
I guess it's possible, but like I said, I don't really do politics anymore, and he's still. I guess he doesn't always do politics, but he still kind of does videos about media from a political lens.
Okay.
And I don't really do that.
Okay.
But there's always a chance we can come up with an idea or something.
Okay. Who is the most famous person to say "I love your work" or liked it?
Most famous person. I'm trying to think. Maybe Hank Green.
Who?
Hank Green.
He's
done a lot of stuff. Probably best known for being the sort of like he's like a science TikToker.
Oh wow!
Created crash course.
Okay. I heard of his name. He's pretty good. Shout out to him.
Okay.
What is it? So, do you have any sort of what sort of videos that you're working on right now? You don't have to tell me, but so give me like a little bit of a tease towards your new videos in the next couple of weeks or months.
Well, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas. Like I have a list with like hundreds of ideas.
Yeah.
Lately, I've just been thinking of like what would be a good show to cover.
Yeah.
I have a lot of shows on my list.
Yeah.
I'm currently watching Malcolm in the Middle. Maybe a video will come out of that.
Yeah.
And maybe doing some videos about. I also want to do more, like black shows. I haven't done a lot of black shows.
Yeah.
But I've been looking at stuff like that. That's why I was looking into Family Matters. I was thinking maybe like I did like the Bernie Mac show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's other Living Single is one I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, the ideas haven't fully formulated, but I have a lot of shows on the list.
Okay. So I don't know where you're from or anything like that, but so how does your sort of educational background influence the content you make on YouTube and just in general?
Well, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm a college dropout. And I think the biggest influence from my education was in college. I was originally an art major.
Okay.
And then I later fell in love with creative writing.
Yeah.
And I think that has sort of carried on. Even though I did never finish college, that sort of carried on. And you know, basically what I do now is related to creative writing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. School's always been weird for me. Like I went to I guess you could consider a magnet school.
Yeah.
In high school for like the smarter kids.
Yeah.
And so school was like easy for me up until college, and then I was like a very poor student.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like I actually had an opposite experience. Like when I was starting out, because I just graduated from like Humber Polytechnic up in Etobicoke, Ontario, for like broadcast radio, and it was like sort of like the opposite. Like I wasn't very good, and then I got better and better and better and better. And now I'm like, sure, I'm not an A student, but I'm decent. I'm not like, and the one thing I realized is that a lot of times you get bad marks is not because you may not know something or you just generally don't know what you're doing. It's overthinking. Right? You overthink something, you're gonna miss something, and it's gonna sort of mess up everything you're trying to do. So how do you avoid that when you're sort of, again, you're making your videos and stuff like that?
Like avoiding like overthinking?
Yeah.
Well, especially when it comes to my videos, that's something that I've been really working on, because I tend to like over explain myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And I realize sometimes you just gotta be simple and get to the point.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's how it applies to my videos.
Yeah. So how you sort of, again, you've been on the platform for a very long time. So what is the difference? What's the difference on YouTube and just the culture of it when you got into it and versus when you blew up and versus where you're at right now?
Wow. It's so different. I mean, the old days of YouTube, I mean, you know, in the beginning, no one was even making money from YouTube. So it was just all people just doing stuff just to be creative. I mean, some people, you know, they like the idea of having a big audience. So that was a motivating factor.
Yeah.
But the old days, I think, was just a lot of low budget, creative people just making stuff from their bedrooms most of the time.
Okay.
And then people did start making money, and that's when these productions started getting bigger, and people started kind of learning how the algorithm works, and so things became a lot more homogenized and similar because people were figuring out what works.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's not even really, I mean, there is a lot of creativity, but it's not really about creativity as much as marketing, you know? And also AI has become a big thing, which is people have different opinions about that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about the AI craze. 'Cause I remember I think it was 2022. I was like, I had to take an extra year of school because I didn't have any credits to get into like a good college for what I wanted to do. and I never forget somebody mentioned this AI chatbot. Right, those things have been there for a little while, but supposedly this was the most advanced version of that. And I was kind of blown away how detail oriented it already became. And then next thing you know, the images and then the AI videos and the AI music and all that sort of hoopla. What's your opinion on all of that?
It's a complicated thing. I don't know if I have a very, simple opinion about it, but I think there's a lot of issues with AI and just in terms of, especially with art, like images and music and stuff, and just how, like, it does kind of suck that it makes this stuff by stealing other people's work.
Yeah.
There's environmental issues because it uses a lot of power and stuff to generate all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's incredible in the way that it can be useful to us.
Yeah.
Like, I use ChatGPT pretty much every day. I use it more than Google now because it's just amazing what it can do.
Yeah.
So I just think we as a society just have to figure out a way to use AI in an ethical way, because it's probably not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the amount of times I kept hearing people talking about it's a gimmick, it's a fad. I said no, it's a new normal. And we're going to have to figure out how to kind of deal with it. Like, obviously, when people think about AI before this whole thing started, people thought about Terminator and it's going to take over the world. And it's not, but it's taking over the world in a much different way. We're in control of it. It's just for some reason, we're making it an issue. We're making something that's not a political issue. It's an ethical issue, right? But again, some people don't really understand nuance behind all that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, have you gone on any trips recently?
I actually but about maybe like a month ago or like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went to the beach over in Florida.
Wow. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was super fun. I haven't been to the beach in a while. I used to go at least once a year, but I hadn't been in years, so
okay.
I decided to go with some friends. Super fun.
So when you were growing up, because I remember I interviewed somebody that was from Arkansas, and he's a black guy, and I asked him like obviously that state has a reputation of being racist and all that. Like, is that he gave me a very interesting answer. I know you're in Alabama, so it's not as extreme. Granted, I haven't been there, but have you dealt with racism and microaggressions, and how do you sort of deal with that?
I mean, yeah, I would imagine that most black people have dealt with it to some extent, and especially if you in the South.
Yeah.
But probably no matter where you live. I wouldn't say I've dealt with a lot of very overt racism. Like, these days, people are more subtle with it.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, after a certain point, you kind of get used to it, and sometimes you don't even notice it because you've gotten used to it, and you don't even realize until weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, that might have been kind of racist, or maybe that might have been motivated by something, by some prejudice. But yeah, I don't know. At least for me, I don't like to be the type of person that's letting things just ruin my day and ruin my life.
Yeah.
And so if something happens, it's just man, that was weird, and I just kind of move on. So I don't. Yeah. And like I said, sometimes you just get used to it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect me that much. It's unfortunate, and I may use it. When I was making more videos about race and stuff, that kind of stuff would inform the things that I would say.
Yeah.
And I'll tell people, maybe don't do this. But that's just me. I don't want to speak for other people. It could be very bothersome to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So the one thing that sort of stood out when I started watching your videos was your tone of voice. And for some reason, I found it to be very, like, you know, comforting, and like I thought you were just using that voice for your channel, but now I'm realizing that voice that you're just using, that's just your voice. Like, how did you, like, sort of, when you started making more videos more frequently, how did you sort of land on the type of voice that you want to speak to?
I don't know. I've been told that my voice is like soothing or whatever. My voice is just what it is. I think just I've been working on just speaking more confidently and like projecting more, and that's really the only thing I worked on. Outside of that, and I guess like speaking clearly. Like, I'm from Alabama, but a lot of people don't think I am because I don't have like a super thick accent or anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's just from for one, my family, my mom and dad aren't from Alabama, so I guess we didn't talk like that. But it's just like speaking clearly and like learning that kind of stuff and practicing that, I think. But outside of that, it's just my voice.
Okay. Interesting. So, when you're like younger and stuff like that, what was your goal then, and what is your sort of goal now? I know you became, you know, YouTuber and big one at that, but like, what was your goal? What was your goal then? What is your goal now? Even though you sort of ascended.
Well, when I was younger, I don't even know if I knew what my goals were. That was one of the reasons why I didn't do well in schools, because I just didn't really know what I wanted to do or what to focus on. I've always been into doing creative things, so I always knew that I wanted to do something creative. I've always liked attention, I guess. Yeah. So I knew I wanted to do something that involved creativity and entertainment, I guess. I don't know, maybe not entertainment, but just like having an audience of some kind. Yeah. And YouTube just ended up being kind of the perfect combination of that. But, you know, who knows what I'll do going forward. I'd like to like put other people on that are like doing cool stuff if I ever, you know, have the resources and opportunity to do that. Yeah. So that's kind of what I have in mind right now, but you never know. Yeah. That's kind of the thing with YouTube. Before YouTube, no one could have imagined that YouTube could be a job, and then it just became the thing. So you never know what's going to happen in the future when it comes to not even just YouTube, but just the internet and social media and whatever opportunities are there. Yeah, for sure. Have you watched a movie recently, or planning on watching a movie in the future? The last movie I watched was Thunderbolts, which I liked. You liked it? I liked it. Okay. But I'm kind of a big Marvel guy, so I'm a little bit biased. I kind of like them. Okay. But I think it was one of the better ones. Okay. Are you going to watch the new Superman movie coming up? Yeah, I'll probably watch it. Okay. I think. Okay. It's funny that you mentioned Marvel. And I know you mentioned Marvel in some of your videos, but you never really did a full-on Marvel video. And would you do something like that in the future, or? Well, I actually have done a couple of Marvel videos, but I think it's just like 2 out of all the videos I've done. Yeah. But I don't know if I will do that. If I do, probably be on a different channel, because I just think it's a different audience. Like the audience that I've built, only a small percentage of them are interested in that. Okay. So we'll see. I don't know, but it's something I would have a lot to say about, but sometimes it's just not the right audience. Yeah. Are you into comics? Well, I haven't read a comic in a while. I've actually been thinking about getting back into them, but when I was younger, I was super into comics. Okay. Do you have any like favorite Marvel characters? Favorite Marvel characters? I like Daredevil and Black Panther, probably. Okay. Those are my 2 favorites. Okay. Certified for sure. Speaking of
of Black Panther, I'll never forget when I first saw that trailer. It was late 2017, and even then I knew like, okay, this is gonna change everything when it comes out. And when it came out, it changed everything. Now, when I first watched it, I liked it, but I don't know, something felt off when I was watching. Maybe I was in the right mood. Then I recently watched it and I loved it. Right? Like, did you sort of expect that movie to be as culturally impactful? Because I don't really remember a superhero movie since then, besides a couple that impacted the culture the way it did. Like, it was just unprecedented at that time. Still is.
Yeah, I don't think I expected that because when, because like the character Black Panther was in the Captain America Civil War before, and I was like, okay, this is cool, but it didn't have the themes that it would eventually come to have. But I think maybe when I saw the first trailer, but especially when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, this movie is just a celebration of Black people, basically.
Yeah.
And definitely did change the culture. And yeah, I that's like one of my, maybe either first or second favorite MCU movie.
Yeah. I mean, it was so interesting seeing how people that really didn't get it were getting super mad at people loving it. And then I realized that's when this whole anti-woke, anti-SJW nonsense was just nonsense. It's like, are you really twisting yourself in knots, questioning why people like this movie? It's literally right in front of your face. And then I realized that these people don't watch movies to enjoy them. They watch movies to hate on them. And this sort of hate watching is sort of now, to me, has dominated a lot of the sort of blockbuster discourse, which is just sad. Because, I really feel like when people sort of complain, just to complain, is like a lot of context and nuance just gets thrown out the window for like sort of instant gratification and engagement farming and money and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times people don't even watch the movie. They just complain without even having seen the movie.
Yeah, it's... How do you think we can sort of fix it? How can we sort of fix sort of the discourse problem, the media illiteracy within sort of entertainment, movies, shows, music? Because it's not just those things. It's a problem in other phases of our lives. But that, to me, is for me when I feel like it's sort of most in your face. How do we fix it?
Well, unfortunately, I think it will. At least a big thing that we need to do is fix social media.
Yeah.
Like, I think social media is a big problem because it literally rewards people who do that.
Yeah.
And as long as that's the case, people will keep doing it,
Yeah.
So at some point, but the thing is, these people who run these social media companies have no incentive to change their algorithms because that's what's making them the most money.
Yeah.
So it's going to be rough. I don't really know the solution to that, but as long as social media rewards people who have the hottest, most controversial, most negative takes, people will continue to make them.
Yeah, for sure. Why do you think, humans and people in general are so attached to negativity, right, on either side? Right? Why do you think we're inherently sort of, when we get to a certain point where just become more and more negative as the world around us changes, or do you think it's like more of a case by case type of thing?
In some ways it's a case by case, but I do think we humans have a bias towards negativity.
Yeah.
Negative things stand out to us more.
Yeah.
And also, it's not just negativity, it's just strong emotions. It's just that negative emotions are usually the stronger ones.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a way that we can deal with it, is just try to find a way to promote strong positive emotions. Because I do think strong positive emotions are just as addictive to humans. But, like if, 100 good things can happen to you in one day, but if one negative thing happens, that's what you're going to focus on. I think that's a bias that humans have, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, that's very, 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 very thoughtful answer. One thing I find very interesting is like a lot of these sort of BreadTubers, and this isn't a shot at any of them because they're all very good at what they do. I feel like a lot of them, they make response videos to certain type of content and creators that they don't like, and that's fine. They have the freedom to do that. But what I know is that you really haven't really done that in a while. Like, so why that is?
Yeah, well, for one, with the negativity thing, I don't really want to be a person that spreads negativity.
Yeah.
So I try to avoid that. You know, sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's hard to avoid, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of switched to more things that have lower stakes, I guess.
Yeah.
But also, it's so hard to, like, I don't know, like when you, like if you make a video about a person, like I've had experiences as well where I will mention someone or I'll make a video about a person, and then especially if you're a popular enough person, that person that you're talking about will see it.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll respond to it. I can see if it's like, you know, if it's like Donald Trump or someone, or if it's like someone who is just like undeniably a problem.
Yeah.
Then that's one thing. But most people are just complex and we're all trying to figure it out. And when you make like this hit piece on someone, it's like, you know, are you actually like thinking about this person as if they're complex, which they are, or are you just reducing them to their worst aspects?
Yeah.
And it's usually not productive or fair when people do stuff like that, in my opinion. So it just makes me feel weird. Even if I'm talking about like super famous people, it feels weird to me to try to call people out.
Yeah.
You know, you brought up that like Sam Harris video, and I even feel weird about that. And I don't think I was like that harsh on him. I think I was fairly even-handed, but
yeah,
it feels weird for me to think that maybe he saw that video. I'm sure some of his fans have shared that video with him. So it makes me feel weird to think that maybe he saw that video and he thought I was being unfair to him. So I don't know. I don't like it.
That's a very, very interesting thought, because whenever I ask that question, I usually I get the opposite answer. And you know what? That's fair. You know, everybody has their own perspectives. But you mentioned sort of talking bad about super famous people, and I realized that there's a bit of an ecosystem with that, where there's certain subreddits where there's like the snark subreddit about whoever, and it's just trashing this person that they had never met. And I would understand, like you said, if it's a Trump or Elon or whatever, right? But these people are relatively harmless, right? Even if they have bad takes or bad beliefs, it's not affecting you like personally so much, right? So again, it's a bit of a balance. I'm not saying people can't be criticized. It's just that, you know, there's a difference between constructive criticism, which is fair. I think it makes people improve on what they do, and personal attacks, where again it just makes a person like feel like shit, and which is just, it sort of defeats its own purpose.
Yeah, I rarely think the criticism is constructive when I see these things. And a lot. I think it's just more. It says more about the people doing it than the people that they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe people need to do that for their own emotional, like gratification or whatever. Yeah. But it's usually not very fair to the target.
Yeah, it's funny because I'll bring up this person. Do you know who is Millie Bobby Brown? She's like the lead of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, I always tell this in every interview because I really feel like it's probably one of the more extreme examples of what you said about, again, personal attacks, but not really constructive criticism, is that when she was on that show when it first came out, it was this big phenomenon, right? And, you know, season 2, everybody still loved her. And season 3 and 4, it's just, like, again, a lot of these very weird and kind of, you know, weird takes about her got more and more and more notoriety, and they're sort of, again, anytime that she says something or she's in an interview outside of the Stranger Things fan base, because obviously they're going to love her because she's part of the show, it's just been, again, very, very weird, very angry, very bitter, it's kind of heartbreaking, because, like, again, you're writing all of these paragraphs about somebody you have not met, right? Sure. Has she said some things, did some things that I'm like, okay, I don't know about that. Yes, but to just again like is not as nearly as equal to again other people that we mentioned before, right? So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, this goes back to what we're saying, like, and just like you said, we don't know these people, we don't know what they're going through.
Yeah,
it's even if people are doing weird or crazy things, we have no idea. Like, I don't know how old you are, but I'm old. So I remember back in the Britney Spears days when people used to talk shit about her constantly.
Yeah.
And over time, people realized, like, oh, she was going through some stuff.
Yeah.
And I think people kind of have come around on that. But you never know what's going on with these people, even if they are. And a lot of times they're not even doing anything that bad. It's just people have decided to hate these people for whatever reason. Yeah,
I always say, like, it's easier to hate than to appreciate. And it's weird because, again, like, do you watch sports?
A little bit. I watch football, but I watch like NBA highlights, but that's why.
Okay. So again, I'll bring you an example of do you know who Joel Embiid is?
Yeah.
Okay, so for some reason, ever since that guy has been drafted and he started playing more frequently, and now it feels like his prime is kind of done because of all those injuries. I feel like, outside of the Philly fan base, I really feel like, and I'm a Raptors fan, so I should feel a little bit negative because of some of the stuff that he does on the court. I really feel like people just have always tried to tear him down, and it's just like, why? Like, again, right? Because, again, right, this isn't somebody who's winning all the chips or winning all the MVPs. I know he has one MVP, but, like, so I would understand the hatred in terms of just, okay, we want someone new. But, like it boggles my mind, and then I realize, like, these people are vicariously living through their dislike of someone to the point it's become their whole MO. I mean, there's literally accounts on Reddit, on the NBA subreddit, where it's just, again, anytime somebody has a bad game, they flood it with negative highlights, negative commentary, negative comments. It's just negative. It's like it shows me, hey, you don't watch the game. You don't watch the game the way that it should be watched. And B, it's like, again, it's just another form of rage bait, which is, again, really, really pissing me off.
Yeah, people just take it too far. Like, there's a level where, you can just be a fan of something and criticize people, and it's like, oh, Joel Embiid's trash, and, just for fun. But people just always take it a little too far.
Yeah. And also, I really feel like there's saying that people like to see you do good, but when people when people see you do better than them, that's when they have an issue. And that's when I really realized, oh, all of it really is jealousy and insecurity. And there's certain people that I don't really like, but I'm not going to say that they don't deserve to be where they are because of whatever reason. I'm not going to make up something just to make me feel good, right? It is what it is. I just got to deal with it,
Yeah, I do think I guess it's jealousy, but people, a lot of people just don't like to see other people succeed. And especially if someone gets, very big or becomes at the top of what they do, they become an easier target for sure.
Yeah, for sure. How can I say this? The World Cup is next year, and there's been a lot of conversation, especially, this political situation and just the ethical situation, kind of, Are you going to pay attention towards it?
I'll probably pay attention. I don't know a whole lot about all the stories going on, but
yeah,
I usually keep a little bit of an eye on it.
Okay. You mentioned you like watching football. Do you have like a favorite team or a favorite player?
Well, my favorite NFL team is the Packers.
Okay.
But I mostly watch college football. I'm from Alabama, so it's really big here, and I'm an Alabama fan.
All right.
And they were really good at one point, but we'll see if that's going to stay true.
Okay. Were you shocked when Nick Saban left and retired? Or did you realize it was going to happen no matter what?
I wasn't shocked. For one, he'd been there, I think, 17 years. So,
Yeah.
that was a long time. But it was also very clear that he did not like all of the NIL stuff that was happening and just the way that things were changing in football. So it wasn't that big of a shock for me.
All right. Do you think, because Alabama, obviously they had a down year last year, but do you think there's a pathway to the national championship or at least get close to it, next few years?
There's definitely a path. There's definitely a chance. I think, because, Alabama's a prestigious school. They're always going to be able to get good players.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a matter of, I think they just need to rein in the egos. There's too many egos now because of all the money people are making.
Yeah.
And that's what Nick Saban was good at, was, teaching people about discipline and not, not paying attention to all the hype. And I don't know if we've figured that out yet.
Yeah. So, Colorado has been the story of college football because of Deion and Travis Hunter and Sheduer Sanders and stuff like that. Do you think Deion's going to stay there to see Colorado potentially win a national championship in the future? Or do you think he might just, again, if an NFL team, maybe the Browns, if they're not doing well, you think he'll just hop on that opportunity to coach his own son?
Well, I don't know. I could see him leaving. I could really see it. But I think it would be it would be so good for his brand and image if he was able to win with Colorado. I don't know if he can. There's just too many good teams out there, but I don't know. I could see either way. I'm not sure.
Okay. So obviously, the NFL draft, I don't know if you pay attention, but Sheduer was one of the biggest storylines going into it, and he drops from a potential top 3 to a top 10 to maybe the 20th pick, then maybe a first round, all the way to the 5th round. Were you shocked? Because I was shocked by that. I'm like, there ain't no way he's a 5th round pick.
Yeah, that was a little crazy. I don't know if I was as hype on him as everybody else, but 5th round is crazy. I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah. Do you think it was you think it was, I don't know about collusion per se, but do you think it was it was sort of supposed to teach him a lesson, or were people really that low on it, which I don't really believe, by the way.
Yeah, it seems there has to have been something going on there. There's no world where he's 5th round, and that people believe that. But I can't really speak on what the actual reason is. But I feel like there had to have been something going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
So again, sort of let's kind of pivot to Travis Hunter. To me, he is the biggest storyline in this draft, and low key the last couple, because sure, there might have been better prospects by position, but what he is trying to do, to me, I think more people need to realize is not a gimmick, is an actual thing. And I really think if he succeeds or not, he's going to change the way we look at the NFL forever. Because if he succeeds, then the NFL is not going to be the same. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I didn't follow that as closely, and like I said, I watched more college than NFL, so I don't know all of the stories. But just based on what I heard, I'm definitely interested to see what's going to happen. We'll see.
You say you're a Packers fan, right? So when Aaron Rodgers was kind of on his way out, I don't know if you were paying attention to the team like I was. Granted, I'm an NFL junkie, so I pay attention to all the teams, but. Were you shocked how people sort of been rewriting his career, or did you always feel that way with him?
Rewriting his career, how?
Meaning, maybe I'm on light too much, but I've been seeing a lot of really bad takes. I mean, I'm seeing like he's not a top 10 quarterback of all time. He was never that good. He was a stat pattern. He was cooking the books. He was a locker room cancer. He was a bad leader. And sure, there are some merits to that. But I really feel like, again, like people are kind of going overboard with it. How did you feel as a Packers fan?
Yeah, I guess I didn't hear a lot about that. I mean, I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time for sure. People who don't are saying that he's not, I think, are trolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
He seems to be kind of a weird guy sometimes, but that doesn't affect the fact that he's really good at being a quarterback.
Yeah. What are your expectations for the Packers next season?
Honestly, I have not really kept up. I'm so casual when it comes to NFL, so I couldn't really tell you.
Okay. So what type of music have you been listening to recently?
I don't really keep up with music either. I just listen to the stuff that I grew up listening to. I'm really bad about. Every now and then I'll find new music just if like YouTube recommends something to me.
All right.
Yeah, I just kind of listen to old stuff.
Okay. You mentioned, what did you listen to when you were growing up?
I probably just like 2000s hip hop and also like grunge from the 90s.
Okay.
And just some pop stuff here and there.
Okay. Is there interesting, because again, the whole like the Kendrick and Drake beef, and I don't know why I was expecting you to make a video talking about it, but it never came, right? Because again, you say you don't really keep up with it like that. Do you really have any opinion on that, or you were like out of the loop on the whole thing?
I guess I was kind of out of the loop. I listened to the songs, but I didn't know. I guess I don't know the story. It's just like two guys beefing. Like I don't know what is interesting about that. I guess besides the songs.
Yeah. Okay. Very 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 interesting right there. Wow. So have you been recognized in public for your videos?
A little bit, not frequently, but a few times. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times.
Okay,
but I don't think I'm that famous enough to to get recognized.
Okay. Do you play any video games?
A little bit. I don't play as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But every now and then I'll find a game that I like. I was like really obsessed with Overwatch for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Balatro. That game's really fun.
Okay.
So yeah, just here and there.
Okay. Who's your favorite actor of all time?
Favorite actor of all time? I don't know. That's a difficult one. I don't know. The ones that came to mind are Don Cheadle, Johnny Depp.
Wow, interesting. Do you have a favorite actress of all time?
Favorite actress. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm just thinking of like, because I watch so much comedy, so I'm just what comes to mind are just like people I think are funny, but
Okay.
that doesn't necessarily mean they're a good actor.
Yeah.
actor.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Do you have like a favorite movie of all time?
Whenever people ask me that, the movies that I always say like a list of movies.
Okay.
Not a list, but probably my top 5 is something like Jackie Brown,
Yeah.
Kill Bill,
Yeah.
Terminator 2.
Yeah.
I'll just say those. Those are probably like
Okay.
3 of my favorites.
Okay. Yeah. Certified list for sure. What's your favorite TV show or shows?
My favorite TV show is probably The Cosby Show. And
Really?
It's weird to say that now, but
Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite TV show.
Oh wow.
I also really love Parks and Recreation.
Yeah. That's
probably
good show.
top 2.
Good show for sure. It's funny you mentioned that show because actually those shows because were you shocked when all those sort of stories and allegations about Bill Cosby? Were you shocked by that? Because I was shocked by that when it came out. Granted, I didn't know the full story because I was very young back then. But
yeah, it was shocking. I had heard little things here and there, but you never know what's true and what's not. Sometimes people just make up rumors about people. But
yeah,
as more and more stories started to come out, and then basically was confirmed that it was true.
Yeah,
it was very shocking because obviously it's the complete opposite of his image.
Yeah,
it's very wholesome, moral guy.
Yeah, that's why I'm always sort of wary now of people that project something onto somebody that might not really be what they really are. Right, and that's more on the people of the fans than the person itself. Granted, it's a bit of a 50-50 type of thing. But that's why, again, the reason why I mentioned the Kendrick Drake thing is, I don't know, man, the way that some people talk about Kendrick and just certain artists like that in general is, they talk to them like they're deities, like they're gods. And I'm like, brother, I don't know what you're on about. It drives me crazy. Does it drive you crazy when you hear that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a problem when we talk about people as being more than human. Cause,
yeah,
it's almost as bad as what we're talking about before, where you're, hating on people that you don't know. It's can be as much of a problem.
Yeah, for sure. What's your favorite movie of last year, 2024?
I don't know. I don't watch that many movies anymore.
Okay.
What even did I watch last year? I'm probably not the best person to ask. I don't watch a lot of movies.
All right. What's your favorite show of last year?
Did Agatha All Alone come out last year, or was that this year? I think that was this year. That was really good.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Usually if I'm watching something, it's I'm watching it for a video I'm going to make, which means it's probably an old sitcom.
Okay.
I mainly just watch YouTube. I don't watch a lot of TV or movies these days.
Okay. Interesting. So, how can I say this? So, who was your celebrity crush when you were growing up? I don't know if you have a girlfriend or not, but you can say one right now too. But
celebrity crush when I was growing up, was between Stacey Dash and Nia Long.
Oh wow, wow! Oh that's funny, bro. Because it's funny you mentioned Stacey Dash because she's been on a very weird roller coaster ever since Clueless. It's that was her first real breakout role, and she really hasn't had anything since. And it's kind of sad to see her kind of turn into the person that she is. I don't know if it's been going on again, but seeing that was kind of wild. For me, my celebrity crush again changes every single day. Right? I don't know if you know any of these people, but one of them's Haley Steinfeld. She's in Sinners. Great movie. Millie Bobby Brown, she's there as well. Lupita Nyong'o, shout out to her. Angela Bassett, I always like Angela Bassett. Lana Del Rey, like that was my first real crush, and I was obsessed about her for like almost a year. It was weird. You know, she made music that I wouldn't really normally listen to, and now I listen to her more now than then, which is crazy. But yeah,
That's a fair list.
yeah, for sure. So how can I say this? Are you into reading books?
I actually have gotten more into reading in the past couple years. I've mainly been reading a lot of like personal development type books. I've been trying to like learn stuff and just like become a better person.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been reading lately.
Okay.
I want to get more into fiction, but I haven't really started yet.
Yeah, there's a book I really think you should read. If you like this book, it would be perfect for a video. It's called Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. He's like this fantasy, sort of high, sort of concept fantasy author. And he, like, to me, he is the best author in the world right now. I mean, his sort of breakdowns of capitalism and the sort of authoritarianism in his books. And he makes those books very entertaining to read. They're very easy to read through, right? I mean, the magic system is very, again, it's straightforward, but it's very complex. So if you're not willing to, again, stick with the books, you're going to get lost. But it's very rewarding. The first book especially, it's like, how can I compare? Have you ever watched Mission Impossible?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like that, but on steroids. It's absolutely, it's hectic. It's in your face, but man, I love it. It's a great book and a great series in general, for sure. I think you should check that out.
It's like fantasy?
Yeah, it's like fantasy. I don't know if you read that. Okay.
Yeah,
Another one is it's More Than This by Patrick Ness. He was also the writer and author of Chaos Walking, granted, which did not turn into a good movie. I don't know why they released that, you know. So, yeah, but it's a really great book. Again, it talks about sort of the pitfalls of capitalism and authoritarianism and sort of it talks about sort of accelerationism in a way, right? And I'm spoiling a little bit. So what happens is this guy named Seth wakes up in this world that he does not recognize, right? And then you start learning about his past, and you know he was gay, and granted, all of it just crescendos into one powerful ending. It's a powerful ending in a way. It's very small scale, so the world is not in danger. They're kind of like walking through the ruins of like London, right? So it's very, very interesting. I think you should check that out.
What was that one called?
More Than This by Patrick Ness.
More Than This.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. I've been asking people for recommendations because I do want to get into more fiction, and I've been interested in fantasy because I started playing D&D not too long ago, and I'm like in love with it. So I've been more interested in fantasy lately.
Yeah. Okay. So the channel name and channel logo, what inspired you to do that? Was that like a nickname of yours, or was that something that you kind of came up in the moment type of thing?
So I've talked about it before, but T1J is, and if anyone follows me on like any of my social media, it's T1J is kind of a abbreviation.
Okay.
And my social media, all of it is the one janitor.
Oh,
and it
wow.
is a abbreviation of that.
Okay.
And that is just a silly name that I came up with a long time ago. It's kind of based on some weird like cartoons and stuff I used to draw, and I used to draw a janitor character, and it's just kind of stuck. It's one of those weird names you come up with when you're young, and it just kind of sticks. Okay.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So you mentioned it, the janitor part, because I thought legitimately, like that was one of your sort of your former jobs before you became a YouTuber. Is that true, or it was, or?
No, I've never been a janitor. It's a common question I get. People ask, like, have you ever been a janitor? It's like, no, it's just literally a weird thing I thought was funny when I was like 18, and it just stuck.
Okay. Do you, like, again, I don't know, again, like, so do you have a job right now besides YouTube, or had a job before?
I I had jobs before, but at the moment, YouTube is my full-time job.
Okay. It's funny because I was asking somebody, this guy with like 1 million subscribers, Solar Sands. I don't know if you heard of him or not, but I asked him about, like, is the money good? And he said, well, it depends, right? If my video does well, I'm gonna get it quite a few money. If it doesn't do well, then obviously it's going to be less. Is that situation similar to you?
Yeah, definitely. It's very volatile.
Yeah.
That's why I say anyone is trying to get into YouTube as a job, you need to know that it's very volatile, and you could do really well for a month or 2 months or 3 months or even a year, and then the next year it's just you're making like literally half as much money. So
Yeah.
you have to be prepared to deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it can be stressful because that's something I've been trying to work on, because sometimes, like, that's why I'm trying to make more content, because, for example, if I make one video a month, that video has to do well or else I just don't have any money for that month.
Oh, wow.
So you gotta have alternate source of income, or you just have to be prepared for it.
Okay. It's interesting you mentioned the income part. Do you live in a house? Do you live in an apartment? Like, how does it work?
I have an apartment.
Okay.
Luckily, my expenses are not super high, and I don't have any kids. I'm single. I live in an apartment, and also I live in Alabama, which is not the most high cost of living place.
Okay. Interesting. You mentioned that obviously you don't have kids, but have you ever had a girlfriend, and how did that work out? I
mean, I've had girlfriends before. I've dated a lot, and different relationships work and don't work for different reasons. These days, I'm like super independent, so it's kind of hard to make a relationship work. But it's just hope maybe one day just find a person whose situation kind of meshes with your situation.
Okay.
That hasn't currently happened now.
Okay. Have you ever given advice to people outside of YouTube and sort of just trying to help them in their lives and stuff?
Yeah, I'm always happy to give advice to people if I feel like I have advice. Especially like the older I get, I think that there are often things that I can share with younger people, because my life is just a series of me making mistakes and learning from them. So
yeah.
And if it's something I happen to know, I love to give advice to people. I wish I had more people to ask for advice when I was younger.
Okay.
And more inexperienced.
Interesting. So, have you ever gotten into a fight in school, or ever been bullied by anybody, and how did you deal with that?
I got into a few fights. I didn't fight that much. I've never been a fighting type of person. I used to fight with my brothers all the time. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I got bullied. I think I was kind of just like a weird, nerdy kid in school.
Yeah.
But I think I was cool enough. I think most people didn't have a problem with me.
All right.
And I don't really know how it works in different schools. I feel like the concept of bullying, like I went to a black middle school and a black high school, and I just feel like the concept of bullying just works a little bit different in black schools. You kind of have to be somewhat cool. And I think as long as you don't cause people problems, people leave you alone for the most part. But every now and then there was an issue, just individual issue here and there. Yeah. But I think I was mostly okay.
Okay, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Do you have a talking relationship with, other people in your family or your parents or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really close with my brothers and my sister, and we just went and visited my dad for Father's Day.
Damn.
My mom is dead. So,
What?
but when she was alive, we were really close. So,
Whoa. How did your mom die? Because I don't hear you mention that in any of your videos that I watched.
Yeah, I don't really talk about my personal life that much in videos. But yeah, she got cancer a few years ago.
Wow.
So yeah.
Obviously, like, how did that like obviously, like, I'll never forget, like, one of my dad's very best friends. He passed away, like, recently, right? I think it was a year ago or something like that. And like my dad, like, when I looked at, like, again, like, my dad didn't take it well because they knew each other for like years and years and years in the past. Like, how did you take it? How did you, like, try to deal with it in the moment?
I don't know. It sucked. It's I mean, maybe it's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And it's just one of those things where you deal with it as you can, but you kind of compartmentalize it so you can just function throughout life.
Okay.
But yeah, it sucks, and
Wow.
I'm still kind of working through it.
Oh, wow. If a sort of a school or college were to come up to you and said, "Hey, man, we looked at your content, we love it. Would you mind becoming a teacher for, like, maybe 2-3 years?" Would you be open to that, sort of teaching the stuff that you've been sort of talking about in your videos?
Maybe. I think that could be interesting. I guess it depends on what it is, because I don't necessarily feel like an expert on anything.
Yeah.
But if it was something that I felt comfortable teaching and felt like I could actually, share some useful information, then yeah, I could see that. I like the idea of teaching and sharing information.
Yeah.
But I don't want to pretend to be an expert on something if I'm not. And that's another reason why I felt less comfortable doing politics, because I think a lot of political commentators are perceived as experts when, we're all just a bunch of bozos making videos.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, I mentioned this before about the sort of BreadTube and that whole label of it. Are you okay of that term being coined on people like you and others making sort of kind of similar type of content, or do you just reject that entirely?
The concept of BreadTube?
Yeah.
Well, these days I don't think people even talk about me as part of BreadTube anymore, since I've kind of moved away. But back in the day, I originally heard it as Leftube.
Yeah, Leftube.
Which I didn't have a problem with that because I'm a left-wing content creator, so it seemed to make sense.
Yeah.
The only problem is when the audience starts to get very gatekeepy about it and say, like, oh, this person is the real Leftube and this person is the real BreadTube, but this person that I don't like, they shouldn't be involved. And then, the idea of BreadTube is kind of focused around anti-capitalism, and my content was never really anti-capitalist. Like, it was, it was more focused on social justice. I didn't really talk about economics that much.
Yeah.
And so I think that made a lot of people think that I wasn't really part of whatever movement they thought I was part of. And it just got really messy, and that's when it started getting weird.
All right. So why do you think it turned messy and sort of the infighting and the purity test? Like, why do you think that happens in sort of those type of communities?
Well, I mean, it's a combination of things. I mean, for one, it just goes back to what we're talking about, how negativity and drama is just what people are addicted to.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what rises to the top. But also, I think there's two different types of creators. I think, or at least there's two different types of political creators. I think there are creators who use their content as a form of political organizing.
Yeah.
And I think there are people who just make content because they want to make stuff for people and be entertaining and share stuff and be creative.
Yeah.
And those two things are very different.
Yeah.
And so the people who are more interested in the political organizing may see these other people and think that they're not really down for the cause, which they may not be. They might just want to make videos. And I think I was more of that second group. I just wanted to make videos and share ideas and stuff and be creative.
Yeah. That's a fair point. I think, my only thing to say about that is like, for the people that are making those sort of accusational statements on people, right? Again, that they don't know, is like, are you willing to die for that cause? Are you willing to get your hands dirty? Or do you want somebody else to get their hands dirty about this? Right? So it's all perspective at the end of the day.
Yeah. And that's just, these audiences sort of like intermix and mingle, and there's a lot of different disagreements and stuff, and it just gets really messy.
It is. Is there a show that you like that everyone hates? That you don't get the hate for?
Well, it depends on who you ask, but my audience, and I think a lot of people who are younger than me, really hate Friends.
Yeah.
But I love Friends. But I've gotten so many comments about how trash Friends is. And so that's an example. But, I think if you ask anyone like over the age of like 30, 35, they're probably a fan of Friends because we just all grew up watching that show.
But why do you think that hate is there in the first place? Is it because, it's just a certain type of brand of comedy that is not like as theatrical, or do you think it's something else?
I think it's just the art form of TV and sitcoms has evolved so much that it just seems outdated, maybe.
Yeah.
And just the way, it's... I guess that's it. And also, there's a lot of things in Friends that don't really hold up today.
Yeah.
And, sometimes people, like, if you didn't grow up watching it, it might be hard to understand the context of the show when it was made. So maybe understand it in that way.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I don't really know.
Is there an actor / actor / director that you'd like, but the internet and people in general don't like for whatever reason, and why?
What, an actor? I don't know. I can't really think of one. I know, I said earlier I'm a big Marvel person.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are sick of Marvel.
Yeah.
I'm not sick of it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an example.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Marvel because I really feel like, again, I don't know if this is a hot take, I really feel like they're easily the greatest film franchise ever. Like, it's not even close. Sure, quality, there's a couple other franchises that have a higher quality per movie, but for what they set out to do and what they keep doing, I really feel like we have been taking them for granted for so long. And their quality at one point was so high. Every was damn near a movement. Every movie was a banger. And when it stopped being as that, as infrequent, as sort of not as frequent, then again people like to rewrite the whole thing and acting like it was just a fad or whatever. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, they've clearly accomplished something that had never been done before. Like it's wild, and as a fan of those comics growing up, it's I feel like I'm in a dream that I get to see all this. Like, it's wild.
Yeah.
But there are some downsides to it because now that they've been so successful, now there's so many other things that are trying to recreate what they did and usually not doing it as well.
Yeah.
And they've kind of made it difficult for like lower budget movies to get made because everyone wants to get that Marvel success. So there are downsides, but they did accomplish something really really
for
cool.
Sure. Do you think, like, this question is a bit of two-part. Like, first part would be like, are you excited for Avengers Endgame, Avengers not Endgame, Avengers like Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars. And second part is, where do you see this universe heading towards? Where do you see it ending at some point? Because it will have to end at some point, right, in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it has to end at some point. It doesn't seem like they have any plans of ending anytime soon. I'm always excited for the new movies, so, I'll see what they do. And it's, I doubt it's going to be as big and as exciting as the original Avengers movies. But you never know. But yeah, I like that first Avengers movie. Like I watched it like 5 times in theaters. Like that movie like changed my life.
Yeah.
And I doubt that this new one's going to be anything like that. But we'll see.
For sure. So obviously there's been a rise of podcasting. It wasn't really much of a thing back in the day. Now it's the new meta of online sort of content and discourse. And you see a lot of these sort of podcast hosts, even the more famous ones, like, you see Club Shay with Shannon Sharp, you got caught up in that whole thing. And you see Noor and some of his guests would say some crazy things. You have to backtrack whatever he said. How do you feel about that sort of landscape? And what's your sort of take on where is it going to be? Or will it ever really be a thing in the future?
What do you mean, like, just podcasts as a whole, or do you mean...
Yeah, podcasts as a whole. Like, what's your opinion on that as a whole?
I think... I mean, I imagine that podcasts are here to stay because people like hearing from the people that they follow and admire.
Yeah.
And podcasts is just a really easy way to do that. And, as long as people listen to them and watch them, they're good to go,
Yeah.
And I think every time all these new podcasts come out, it seems like they work. If they're a decent podcast and if the people that are on the podcast are people that people care about, it just seems like it'll keep working. It seems like just a good formula.
Yeah. Interesting. So there are some shows I think you should. I don't know. Have you ever watched King of Queens when it was out?
Yeah, I did watch King of Queens.
All right. Would you do a video or something like that?
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch it. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility. But like I said, I just have to have a good angle on it, or if there's
because I haven't seen anybody do like in-depth video about it. Like I've seen clips go viral, memes, but I haven't seen anybody like do like an actual in-depth sort of discussion and opinion about it. Like, did you like the show?
I did like it, yeah.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I like to do on my channel, see if I can find something that is not being talked about that much.
Yeah.
And do something.
What is your favorite restaurant to go to in Alabama?
Favorite restaurant? Favorite one? I don't know. I don't go out to eat that much. I like Jim and Nick's, which is a southern restaurant.
Okay.
There's this random French restaurant called Chez Fan Fan, but it's not even, they have a burger there and it's like the best burger I've ever had.
Okay.
So those come to mind, but I actually don't eat out that much. I've been trying to eat a little healthier, so I cook at home most of the time.
All right. Do you like drink smoothies, milkshakes, that type of thing?
I have not had a smoothie or milkshake in a while.
Okay. And I'm assuming you don't drink pop or anything like that because you say you're trying to get healthy.
Well, I drink a lot of Diet Coke. Which,
okay,
I guess some people might think that's unhealthy, but I think it works for me.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Oh, do you like do you like go to the gym? Do you exercise?
Yeah, I've gotten more into exercising in the past couple years.
Okay.
I just exercise at home. I have like a bench and
Okay.
and like a treadmill in my apartment.
Okay. Obviously, I feel like ever since COVID, I know there's been this big problem with sort of conspiratorial thinking and conspiracies and all that stuff. It really feels like it's just taken a big jump to now, like, fringe stuff that people say you're crazy for mentioning are now being discussed like they're legitimate issues on the sort of mainstream news stories. How do you feel about that? Like, was that always inevitable, and how do we combat that?
I don't know. I really don't know how we combat it. We think there's been kind of a movement, some of it is just like propaganda and the government, but like people don't trust like experts and facts anymore, which is a problem.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't tell you what we do about that. I just know in my personal conversations, if I have discussions with people, I just try to make it clear, like, we can't have this conversation if you're not going to be, if your views are not based on evidence or based on facts. Yeah. And some people just don't care about it.
Okay. Because again, like, this is back in the day, it was kind of a meme that like whoever like blows up, musically, or an actor or an actress, just people in general, they'd be accused of being part of like the Illuminati or Mason or a secret society. Like how do you feel about that? And have you ever come across somebody that might have been part of that, as absurd as that might sound?
No, I don't. I mean, there are like groups that do stuff, but I'm pretty convinced there's no Illuminati or anything like that, to the extent that people believe.
Okay.
I think there's definitely, powerful people that get together in rooms and come up with things and do things that affect others. But this idea of just all these celebrities and rich people that are just secretly running the world, I think is a bit overblown.
Okay. Are you, like, do you follow any type of religion? Are you atheist? Are you agnostic? What's your view on that?
I'm an atheist.
Okay.
I would call myself an atheist.
Okay. Okay, very interesting. So, like, again, you see, because when people talk about, again, Christianity and stuff like that, some images comes up in people's minds are sort of the black church and just the congregation and the choir and all that stuff. Like, when you told people that you don't believe in that stuff, like, how did people react, and how did you sort of try to kind of sort of balance the conversation?
I mean, I've had a lot of reactions. There were some issues with my family. I mean, I grew up Christian. I would say I used to be Christian, but I kind of transitioned into being an atheist. And there were some conflicts with certain members of my family because my family is mostly pretty religious. And I went through like different phases. Like I used to argue a lot about it. I used to be like one of those like obnoxious atheists that just wanted to try to prove everybody wrong and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. These days, I just try not to bring it up.
Yeah.
I think the idea of religion it's mostly about faith. It's not about, being proved right or wrong. It's just, you just believe because that's what you're supposed to do. And, I can't really say anything towards that. As long as people aren't harming each other or taking advantage of each other, it's just whatever, live your life.
Yeah, a very interesting take. What was the moment that you realized that you are an atheist, or you're sort of leaning towards that direction? Was it like an event or something somebody said or something you saw online? Like, what was the sort of trigger for that?
I would say it's kind of a gradual thing because, I grew up Christian, but I think I was just affected by a lot of different things, like different people I hung out with. I took philosophy classes in college.
Okay.
I would see things on YouTube here and there, but I grew up always wanting to be, like I said, I've always been an opinionated person.
Yeah.
And so when you have opinions, you want your opinions to be right. So
yeah.
I was always interested in making sure that when I said something or believed it, that I had a good reason to believe it and that there was like evidence and proof behind what I was saying.
Yeah.
And that kind of applied to religion. And for a while, I spent a lot of time like studying and trying to like rationalize my beliefs in Christianity and stuff. And I think just over time, I just came to the conclusion that I could not rationalize my beliefs in Christianity or just in God in general. And just over time, that transitioned into be like, well, I guess it's not true then.
Okay. Like, why do you think, again, I feel like there was a time where, like, there were a lot more, like, prominent atheist sort of prominent atheist commentators, like, you mentioned Sam Harris, but I mentioned Christopher Hitchens. You want to argue someone like George Carlin was in that conversation. He's a comedian, but he was an atheist as well. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, it's kind of like taking a backseat, and the more extreme, more fundamentalist, more evangelist, and not just Christianity too, it's happening in other religions as well. Like, the more extreme aspects are just now front and center. Why do you think that is, and how do we sort of combat that?
The more extreme aspects of religion, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like religious extremism has kind of always existed to some extent.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just being highlighted a little bit more now.
Yeah.
And there were those outspoken atheists, and I think some of what they did was useful, but I don't know if they actually were helping at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was the solution.
Okay.
But yeah, that's another thing that's really complex, and I don't know if I really have the answer. Religion is rough. That's one of the reasons I distance myself from religion, because I think it just leads to a lot of chaos a lot of the time. That's just how I feel about it.
So again, like, I think might be a reason why you haven't really done a video on it in a very long while, I'm assuming.
Yeah, on religion?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's productive really.
Okay.
Either I'm going to be pissing people off or just preaching to the choir. Like, I don't really know. I mean, I'm sure there's some people in the middle that might find it interesting, but
okay.
I just feel like the people are coming from two different things. I don't like, if I'm coming from a place of I want everything to be evidence-based and logical, and other people are coming from this sort of faith-based religious idea. It's just like two completely different perspectives.
Okay. Interesting. For sure. What was the most absurd accusation that your videos or channel have gotten from a person in the comment section?
Accusation. I don't know. When I was doing political content, there was all kinds of crazy comments I would get. I don't know, like the most absurd one. There's like the typical stuff. Like, people used to accuse me of like hating white people, for example, or like people. I would make videos that would be, anytime you make stuff that defends other people, you get accused of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, people accuse you of like being a white knight or like trying to make videos so that women will have sex with you or something like that. People
that
just
to
make
me
up
like
stuff like that.
that to me is so absurd. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I feel like whatever someone says, like I always say, like, bro, you're kind of telling on yourself, but they're not gonna get it, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. We are now we are heading towards the end portion of this interview. We're gonna play this little game. Okay, so have you heard of Drink Champs?
Drink Champs.
Drink Champs, yeah. It's like a hip hop podcast. It's made by this guy named Norega back in the day.
No. Oh yeah. I've seen some clips of that.
All right, and obviously there's just they do this Q&A section where they ask the artists, they sort of give them like two options. You have to pick either or, but the difference is there's no drinks, and you can't pick both, and you can't pick neither. So you cool with that?
Okay, we'll try it.
You cool with it?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Friends or King of Queens?
Friends.
Okay. I also want to add on. If you want to sort of give a reason why you chose your pick, you're free to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Tom Cruise or Jackie Chan?
Definitely, I'll say Jackie Chan. Like
Okay.
his old martial arts movies were super dope.
All right. Okay. Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris?
Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Those movies. Love those movies.
All right. Tupac or DMX?
I guess Tupac.
Okay.
He just kind of means more to the
All right. Okay.
genre.
All right. Marvel or DC?
Marvel for sure.
Okay. All right. The Dark Knight or Avengers Endgame?
Avengers Endgame. I
Okay.
personally think the Christopher Nolan Batman movies are kind of overrated.
Okay. Okay. Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino?
Tarantino. I'm a huge
Okay.
Tarantino fan.
All right. Stanley Kubrick or Steven Spielberg?
That is a hard one.
Yeah.
I guess if I have to pick one,
Yeah.
I'd pick Spielberg.
Okay.
But that was hard.
Okay. Darren Aronofsky or David Fincher?
Probably Aronofsky.
Okay. All right. Okay. Stranger Things or Game of Thrones?
Literally, I've never seen Game of Thrones, so I'll go with Stranger Things.
Okay. Haley Steinfeld or Amy Adams?
Amy Adams.
Okay. Angela Bassett or Viola Davis?
Angela Bassett.
Okay. Jordan Peele or Steve McQueen?
Who's Steve McQueen again?
Man, mispronounced, but he directed 13 Years a Slave, and he directed Shame. He's doing this other movie with Michael Fassbender, and it's going to come out, I think, this year, I think.
Oh, okay. I'll say Jordan Peele.
Okay. Ryan Coogler or Antoine Fuqua?
I guess Coogler. That's a hard one too.
Yeah. Okay. Mission Impossible or Star Wars?
I'll actually probably say Mission Impossible. Okay. Star Wars is so hit or miss.
Yeah. Okay. Patrick Mahomes or Peyton Manning?
I guess Patrick Mahomes. I mean, yeah.
Lamar Jackson or Drew Brees?
Drew Brees.
Okay. LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
Okay. Shaq or Jokic?
So that's rough. I mean, Jokic is better,
Okay.
but Shaq is Shaq, so I'm gonna go with Shaq.
Okay.
And that's just who I grew up with.
All right. Okay. Wow. Jay-Z or Nas?
Yeah, overall, this is hard. If it was like different eras, I could probably choose. I guess I'd probably say Jay-Z.
Okay.
Jay-Z at his best, I think, is better than Nas at his
Okay.
best.
Okay. Kanye West or Kendrick Lamar?
Kendrick.
Okay. Drake or Lil Wayne?
Lil Wayne.
Okay. Rick Ross or Killer Mike?
I'll say Killer Mike.
Okay.
Run the Jewels is dope.
Okay. Dave Chappelle or George Carlin?
I guess I don't know. I guess I'm gonna say Carlin. I think I don't know. Dave Chappelle's just been so weird lately.
Yeah, it do be like that. Cat Williams or Richard Pryor?
Gotta go with Pryor.
Okay. Patrice O'Neal or Bernie Mac?
Bernie Mac.
All right. Okay. Who's worse? Okay. Reagan or Trump?
Worse. Trump is worse for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Megan Fox or Millie Bobby Brown?
I would say Megan Fox personally.
Okay. All right. Coldplay or Nirvana?
Nirvana.
Okay.
It's maybe my favorite band actually.
All right. Michael Jackson or Frank Sinatra?
I'll say Michael Jackson. I don't have much of an attachment to Frank Sinatra, but
Okay.
Michael Jackson was the guy.
Okay. Logic or Macklemore?
Logic.
Okay. Good. Odyssey or Goldlink?
I don't even think I know what either of those are.
Okay, it's fine. Daft Punk or Justice?
Oh, that's interesting. Daft Punk.
Okay. Taylor Swift or Paul McCartney?
Paul McCartney.
Okay. Beyonce or Prince?
That's interesting. I mean, I like more Beyonce songs, but Prince is just a legend. I think I got to go with Prince.
Okay. Rihanna or Britney Spears?
Rihanna.
Okay. Imagine Dragons or Nickelback?
I'll say Imagine Dragons.
Okay. Adele or Amy Winehouse?
Ooh. That's really hard. I will say Amy Winehouse, actually.
Okay. Kaytranada or Deadmau5?
Deadmau5, I don't really know that much about either.
Okay. Batman or Spider-Man?
Batman or Spider-Man? I know I said Marvel before, but in this case, I got to go Batman.
Okay. Godfather trilogy or Lord of the Rings trilogy?
I've actually never seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy, surprisingly.
Okay.
So I guess I got to go with Godfather.
Okay. Forrest Whitaker or Don Cheadle?
Don Cheadle. Although
Okay.
Forrest Whitaker is amazing.
Okay. Raven from the Teen Titans or Gwen from Total Drama Island? I don't know if you saw either of those shows.
Oh, which one was Gwen? Oh, okay. I had to look it up real quick. I've seen the show, but I couldn't remember the name.
Okay.
I'll go with Raven.
Okay. Regular show or Amazing World Gumball?
Regular show.
Okay. SpongeBob or Teen Titans?
SpongeBob.
Okay. This I'm just no. This is comics, right? The Avengers or Justice League?
Avengers, for sure.
Okay. College football. Okay. Alabama or LSU?
Alabama.
All right. Okay. Jadakiss or Styles P?
Jadakiss.
Okay. Hobson or cannabis?
It's also interesting. I'll probably actually say Hobson.
Okay. Pharrell or Timbaland?
See, this also depends on era. Like,
Yeah.
in the 90s, 2000, I would have 100% said Timbaland. But I think overall, career-wise, I would say Pharrell.
Okay. Pusha T or Mos Def?
Most Def, that's what I grew up with.
Okay. Clips or Mobb Deep?
So in this case, I grew up with Mobb Deep, but I actually like Clips more, so I'm gonna say Clips. I guess I grew up with Clips too.
Okay. Pete Rock or DJ Premier?
It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
I guess I'll go with Primo.
Yeah, okay. All right. Metro Booming or Mike Will Made It?
Mike Will made it.
Okay, interesting. DJ Dahi or No ID?
No idea, I guess. Yeah.
All right. J. Cole or Big Sean?
J. Cole.
Okay, interesting. Eminem or Elvis Presley?
Eminem.
Okay. Nicki Minaj or Missy Elliott?
Missy Elliott.
Okay. All right. Salt and Pepper or Queen Latifah?
Salt and Pepper, for sure.
Okay. Brandy or Ashanti?
Brandy.
Okay. SZA or Leah?
SZA or Aaliyah. I think I gotta say Aaliyah.
Okay. Chris Brown or Usher?
I'll go with Usher.
Okay. Okay. Billie Eilish or Lana Del Rey?
Interesting. I guess Lana Del Rey. I like both of them though.
Okay. Olivia Rodrigo or Miley Cyrus?
I guess Olivia Rodrigo. I don't have much of an affinity towards either.
Okay. 50 Cent or T.I.?
T.I.
Okay. Gucci Mane or Future?
Actually, let's say Gucci Mane.
Okay. Playboy Cardi or Lil Uzi Vert?
I guess Lil Uzi Vert.
Okay. Waka Flocka Flame or Young Thug?
Oh.
Huh?
I'll go with Waka Flocka Flame.
Okay.
I used to party to his songs.
Okay. Wale or Mac Miller?
Mac Miller.
Okay. Breaking Bad or Sopranos?
I've never seen either show.
Oh,
I told you I don't watch a lot of TV.
okay. Boy Meets World or The Wire?
That's an interesting comparison. I guess Boy Meets World means more to me personally. The Wire is a great show, though.
Okay. All right. The Walking Dead or Better Call Saul?
I haven't seen Better Call Saul, but I bet I would like it better than The Walking Dead.
Okay. Zendaya or Keke Palmer?
You said Zendaya?
Yeah.
Keke Palmer.
Okay. Adam Sandler or Kevin James?
Kevin James is interesting. I think I probably would go with Kevin James, actually.
Okay, that's interesting. These are as cities, okay? Toronto or Chicago?
I've never been to Toronto. I don't really know what it's like. So I don't know.
Okay. Lupe Fiasco or Black Dot?
Black Thought.
Okay. LL Cool J or Ludacris?
I was a legend, but I like more Ludacris stuff, so Ludacris.
Okay. KRS-One or Rakim?
Rakim.
Okay. Biggie or Big L?
Biggie.
Okay. All right. Joey Badass or Denzel Curry?
I don't know a whole lot about either. I'll just say Joey Badass.
Okay. Justin Timberlake or Rob Thicke?
Justin Timberlake.
Okay. Bryson Tiller or Brent Faiyaz?
I don't know if I know either of those.
Okay. Okay, it's fine. Neil Gaiman or J.K. Rowling?
This is rough because both of them have been canceled. I in terms of their work, Neil Gaiman for sure.
Yeah. Okay. 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 Hamburgers or pizza?
Hamburgers.
Okay. Poutine or fish and chips?
I'm gonna say fish and chips, but I don't think I've ever had like real authentic poutine.
Okay.
So I would have to like really have some like.
All right. Okay. Cake or cookies?
Cookies.
Okay. Right. Donut or tiramisu?
Donut.
Okay. 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 RZA or Havoc?
RZA.
Okay. Wu-Tang Clan or Tribe Called Quest?
Tribe Called Quest.
Okay. Okay. Gil Scott-Heron or Q-Tip?
I guess Q-Tip.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Sean C. or Neil Drop?
Say that again.
Sean C. or Neil Drop? They're both music reviewers.
Yeah, I don't think I know who they are.
Damn. Wow. The Company Man or FD Signifier?
FD Signifier.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. Matt Damon or Ben Affleck?
Matt Damon.
Okay. 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 Fast and Furious or Born Legacy franchise?
The Born Legacy franchise.
Okay. 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 Leonardo DiCaprio or Marlon Brando?
Interesting. Actually, Marlon Brando, honestly.
Okay. Okay. Robin De Niro or Al Pacino?
De Niro.
Okay. Christian Bale or Gary Oldman?
Gary Oldman.
Okay. Jack Quaid or John David Washington?
I don't think I know those people.
Oh my god. Okay. Need for Speed or Forza?
I grew up playing the Need for Speed game, so I guess I'll say Need for Speed.
Okay. FIFA or Madden?
The FIFA games are better. FIFA.
Okay. Otis Redding or Donny Hathaway?
Otis Redding.
Okay. 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 Stevie Wonder or Benny King?
Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Love Stevie Wonder.
Okay. Okay. Anderson .Paak or Thundercat?
I guess Anderson .Paak.
Okay.
Seems familiar.
Ty Dolla $ign or Nate Dogg?
Nate Dogg.
Yeah, sure. Snoop Dogg or Wiz Khalifa?
go with Snoop Dogg.
Okay. Wow. Okay. UGK or Outkast?
Outkast.
Okay. Bun B or Pimp C?
Bun B.
Alright, okay. ASAP Rocky or Travis Scott?
ASAP Rocky.
Okay. 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 Thinking of. Okay. Anya Taylor-Joy or Emma Stone?
Emma Stone.
Okay. 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 Sam Raimi or the Russo brothers?
I'll say the Russos.
Okay. Tom Holland or Tobey Maguire?
That's hard. I guess I gotta go with Toby. He's the OG.
Okay. Okay. Who's worse? Diddy or Suge Knight?
Probably Diddy.
Okay. 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 Messi or Ronaldo?
I'm not knowledgeable enough to make a decision. I'll just go with Ronaldo.
Okay. 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 Steph Curry or Magic Johnson?
Steph Curry.
Okay. Kevin Durant or Kawhi Leonard?
Durant.
Okay. Okay. Jason Tatum or Paul Pierce?
I used to love Paul Pierce. I'm just gonna go with Paul Pierce.
Okay. Okay. Aaron Donald or Lawrence Taylor?
Lawrence Taylor.
Okay. 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 Trinidad James or Soulja Boy?
I guess Soldier Boy. I only know one Trinidad James song.
Okay. Okay. The Alchemist or Just Blaze?
I'll go with Just Blaze.
Okay. Okay. Alright. Madlib or Rick Rubin?
Interesting. I'll say with Rick Rubin. I'll say Rick Rubin.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Dre or DJ Quick?
Dr. Dre.
Okay. Vince Staples or Tyler the Creator?
Tyler the Creator.
Okay. Okay.
Started storming over here.
I know. Okay. Ferrari or Lamborghini?
Ferrari.
Okay. Second last one. Last of Us or GTA?
GTA.
Okay, last one. Nightwing or Red Hood?
Red Hood.
Okay. Bonus one. Florence Pugh or Kate Winslet?
what's the first name?
Florence Pugh. She was yelling. Huh?
Yeah, Florence Pugh.
Okay.
Yeah. Florence Pugh.
Okay. Double bonus one. Kate Beckinsale or Halle Berry?
Halle Berry for sure.
Yeah, that's it was a real honor having you on. I wanted to get this done, a couple weeks earlier, but scheduling all that. I never thought you would actually like say yes to my thing because, again, I always have this sort of preset of people kind of saying no because of my status, my channel. That's kind of an issue that I have in my mind. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on, showing out. We had a great conversation. Maybe in the near future we can have another conversation down the road. I really appreciate you coming on and stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite. And yeah, it's been a fun conversation.
Is this your first interview?
Oh, no. I've done many interviews.
Okay. All right, bro. Have a nice one, man.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
That is another episode of the Renegade Podcast. And, I want to thank everyone who listened. And hope to see you guys very soon.